Okay. So you only have to, when you're doing the readings of the chapters, you only have to read the actual main text. If there are case studies or sidebars, I feel like it's a lot of reading, particularly because you've got other courses that you're taking. So every once in a blue moon, I will say to you, hey, read the case study on this, because I think it's good. Okay. But you'll really only be tested on the main stuff. To be very honest with you, if you watch my lectures, some of them I'm like this one, I'm doing it live. Others I will use a video unit to record them, mainly because I'm only requiring the Zoom sessions once a week. So like today, I'll be doing chapter 1, and then we'll be, or I will be recording chapter 2 and putting it up there for you to look at this weekend. Okay, this is the first time that I've taught this version of this course. So, when it's the first time, there's always bumps in the road, and I may change things depending upon how things are going for you. Okay. I'm assuming that, you're gonna be reading all throughout this, so I'm not really gonna go over the detail. We're gonna have 4 different guest speakers, and when I say guest speaker, what I mean is that I'm gonna do a Zoom session with them and record it, and then you guys can watch it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when I get into it. So basically, there is a midterm and a final. The final is optional. And by that I mean, if you do 85% or above for your quizzes and the test banks, then you don't have to take the final. Okay. If you score lower, you do. There'll be 4 quizzes. The difference between the test bank and the quizzes is not that great. The quizzes are multiple choice. In the test banks, I like to do different types of methodology in terms of testing. So like the first 2 test banks for chapters 1 through 4 is a crossword puzzle. So, it might make sense to just go out there and download the crossword puzzle, and then while you're doing your reading, you could actually fill the puzzle out, and you'll just take a picture of it with your phone and then upload it. Okay. Okay. I'm just going through this fairly quickly, just to make sure. This is all about, all the different support services that you guys got, which are all being done now on Zoom. So if you, for whatever reason, I don't think you would, but maybe for the Pracies, you might use the Writing Center, the Reading and Writing Center. And I'm going to explain the Pracies to you later on. And then, here's your, I would say definitely print off pages 7 through 10 and stick it up on a bulletin board if you're at home or whatever, and just keep track of everything. The only thing I'm really requiring you to do for this week is the readings. Okay, try to get those done. All right, and let's see, I think that is it for that. Okay. And let me. By the way, does anybody have any questions while I'm trying to get this up here? Okay, no questions. Oops. All righty. So let's just get started with the the lecture, today's lecture. Can you guys see this okay? Yep, okay. So in chapter 1, they're just trying to give you a overall feel for the, you know, what business is. And you know, I'm not going to go through each one of these things because I am going to go through each one of these things. But here they all are. And generally speaking, whatever I go over in a lecture with you is going to be quiz material, okay? So you can actually use the PowerPoints, which are all out there to study for the quiz. And of course, the quiz is open book. I mean, what other way could I do it? All right. So my phone is ringing. Sorry about that. So when you're talking about adding value, hold on a second. Sorry. Okay, they stopped. Each company has what we call a value chain, okay, and that can be how they make certain decisions to make or generate revenue. And so when they have a list of things that they have to get done, like pay their employees or buy a building or whatever's left over is the profit. And so the results of these decisions is what you would call the company's business model, how they go about doing their business. So a lot of this stuff that I'm going to be talking to you about is just really defining how business is explained, okay? Because that's going to be important to you if you decide you're going to, be a business management major. There's an awful lot of terminology that goes on in the business world, and so it's key that it's like learning a language, okay? And so when a business decides that it's going to enter what we call the free market, they have to figure out a way to be competitive. And very famous Harvard University professor Michael Porter, who I went to school with as an undergrad, came up with what competitive advantage is all about. And so each company seeks that competitive advantage, and it makes to make its products more appealing to its target market. And there's 3 things that they can do. First is that they can look at what their company is like in terms of cost leadership. So if you were to say, who is a cost leader in, let's just say, regular dry goods, you'd probably say, or more than likely say Walmart is. Because if you want to get something cheap, but it's a good quality, you'd go there. And so that's their cost leadership. Are they different than other possible choices? No. And so their differentiation, you could go Ocean State and find something that's even cheaper. But Walmart has more of a variety of things for you to choose, okay? In terms of audience focus, every company has a different type of audience focus. And so, for example, if you like Apple products, they're definitely not in, cost leadership at all because they're really expensive, okay? But they are different. And so that's why their audience focus is a clientele that has a little bit more deep pockets. Okay, I myself, I mean, I own an Apple iPad, but I also own a Chromebook, which only cost me like $149. And I also own a Surface, which is sort of like a middle point between the iPad and the Chromebook. Okay, so there's differentiation with each product, and it can be based upon you know, the cost of the product as well. Okay, all right. In addition to for-profit companies, we also have not-for-profit companies. And one of our first guest speakers is going to be Dr. Marlon Tadros, and she is the head of a company. She's also a professor up at Southern New Hampshire University, but she's also the head of what is called virtual activism. And so the driving force that most businesses have is to make a profit, but there are a group of businesses known as nonprofits, okay? And you can always tell a nonprofit because they get to actually use .org, O-R-G, on the web for websites, okay? But they have to prove that they're also a nonprofit. So the thing of it is that nonprofits have assets too. So they may actually own a patent or have a brand like the American Red Cross or Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Blue Cross and Blue Shield is an insurance company, but it's also a not-for-profit insurance company. So being not-for-profit is a good thing because you're able to get things cheaper, I guess. The tax code is differently. For the most part, not-for-profits are, or non-profits, they're also called that, are museums, universities or colleges, charities, you know, all kinds of charities. And like I said, insurance companies that are, you know, the reason why Blue Cross and Blue Shield is a nonprofit is because it was created back in the 40s by the legislature. And Massachusetts was one of the first ones to actually have a Blue Cross here. Okay, we can look at basically in terms of business types, we can look at, there's two types, either manufacturing or service, okay? And if it's manufacturing, you know, you're doing what we call goods producing. And so they can be either tangible or intangible things, okay? Just about all manufacturing end products are tangible, okay? But, you know, like something like Twitter, that's a service, and so it's an intangible. It's not like you can touch Twitter, okay? So you'll hear that often used, probably even in case studies, you know, the following is a tangible good, or the following service is an intangible. You know, like Jiffy Lube, you know, you're going to get your oil. That's the case in which it's both tangible and intangible, okay? But it's just important to make note of that. Basically, barriers to entry, it's a buzzword you'll hear from time to time, and what it basically boils down to is cost, okay? How much does it cost to start a business? So any resource that you're gonna need to start that business is probably going to have a cost associated with it, and then how are you going to do it? Jeff Bezos, when he started Amazon, he didn't want to be beholden to anybody, so he asked his parents if he could use their credit card. And I think he charged something like, $47,000 worth of stuff to the credit card. Can you imagine getting that bill from Mr. Bezos? But as things turned out, it was a good thing. Okay, there are what we call multiple business environments, and I'm not going to really go into great detail with this. There's a technological environment that you have to take into consideration. If you're going to start a company, everybody needs either a phone or a laptop. There's the market itself, understanding it, okay? And also part of understanding the market is the economic environment, okay? Another thing that's really very important is the social environment, because we now know that, for example, I'm teaching a course called Digital Marketing, and it's all about, Twitter, Facebook, and all the different software apps that go into marketing now, which is so different than 5 years ago, okay? And then you also have the part that trips up a lot of people who are starting new businesses is the legal and the regulatory environment, and we'll be talking more about that later on. So again, social environment are the trends and the forces in society at large, and every business operates within a social environment, and some take it much more seriously than others in terms of like climate change and things like that. If you're publicly traded, you have what are called stakeholders, or those are the people that actually buy your stocks. And again, the technical environment, which we'll talk more about later on. Disruptive technologies is a your book really talks about it a lot, and some of it, or not some of it, all of it stems from just practicalities, I guess is the best word. Whether or not what you're creating is innovative, or is it a standard product that sort of stays with the rest of the group. And when we say disruptive technology, it's those processes that fundamentally change the nature of the industry you're in. So a good example of a disruptive technology would have been when the iPod was first created. I mean, I remember the first iPod that I bought, it looked like a hockey puck. I mean, it was huge. And I still have it. In fact, I every once in a blue moon, I remember to bring it with me and I show it to everybody on Zoom, and everybody gets a big kick out of what it looked like. So companies can actually utilize disruptive technologies to differentiate themselves. Remember, we talked about competitive advantages, and that differentiation is what really makes products like, or companies like Apple. Okay, they're always trying to outdo themselves in terms of the things that they create. Okay, enough of that. Economic, legal, and marketing, we're going to do that in great detail, so I'm not really going to, I mean, they are what they are, and I'm not really going to go into too much about them today. Okay, so every company has different functional business areas, and they're standard all throughout all companies. So, you have a research and development area. Not all companies have research and development because not all of them need it. But, you certainly would find an amazing research and development area at Apple. Not so much with Walmart, okay? Because, I mean, it is what it is. You also have information technology that you have to keep up on. And of course, we know that this is just a huge problem for companies these days with Russia and Iran and probably China, all trying to whack into companies' databases to steal their information. You also have manufacturing, okay? Walmart itself doesn't really, well, they do manufacture some products, but for the most part, most of their time is spent in operations, okay, doing operations. You know, how do I get product A into the shelves as quickly as possible? So they spend a lot of their research on things like that. So I just kind of want to explain how these major functional areas can be different to different companies, okay? We're going to be talking in great length about marketing, and Melissa Daly is going to be a guest speaker. I guess now would be a really good time to talk about this. When you watch the different guest speakers, you can pick one of them. There's going to be 4 of them, and you can pick one of them to do your précis. Okay. Now, what's a précis? Well, there's a link on Plato that will move you off to the explanation of what a précis is. But basically, the best way I can explain it is, if you're watching something live or you're seeing some like video and you need to write about it, but what a précis does is you write it in your own words, more or less, okay? And I'm going to do a separate lecture on developing a précis, but you know, so if you look at the syllabus, there's 4 different weeks where I won't really be doing any Zoom lectures or anything, but what I will be doing is a video of a person who's an expert at something, and Melissa is incredible at digital marketing. She's got a great job. Okay, and another area is finance and accounting. And I'm going to be using my brother Dave. He's a treasurer or executive vice president and treasurer over at the Dowd agencies in Holyoke. And, you know, he's going to be talking to us about, you know, the financial aspects of a company. And it's important for you to understand, you know, like all 6 of these areas, which we will be talking about, because when you go to get a job, it really matters what area of the company that you're going to be working in, okay? Finally, John Donnelly he works for Southwest Airlines, and he's a labor negotiator, okay? So he's going to be telling us about labor negotiations and Southwest Airlines, I'm sure. Okay, when we talk about business services, there's all different ways that services can be done, okay? And in fact, if you just try to think of it, you know, you could come up with your own business model, all right? And, you know, so there's a wide variety of out there, like a lawyer. A lawyer is someone who has expertise in a service, okay? And before Jeff Bezos came up with Amazon, the only way that you could get a book would be through Scholastic catalogs, you know, that they used to have. I didn't know if they have it in grammar school anymore. So banking, real estate, these are all not tangible things, but ways that you can actually make money, okay? And that's kind of important to know. I'm going to end our discussion here with just like what it means to be a professional, okay? So there are like 7 things that you want to think about at a very high level when you go to work for a company. The first is, and this, a lot of this, you know, it's in your textbook, but I agree what your textbook says about it. The first is to strive to excel, okay? Be the person in the room who wants to do the hard job. That goes a long way, okay? Be dependable. If you say you're gonna do a hard job, then make sure you do it, okay? But also be a team player. I mean, if you know somebody else in your work group wants to do something, let them, you know, be a good team player. You need to communicate effectively. So by that, one of the best things that you can do just while you're here at school is learn how to present. A lot of companies will say that, oh God, we just wish the kid is really smart, but they don't know how to present information, okay? Which you'll get plenty of experience to be able to do, because a lot of the professors have you present information, which is a good thing. Make sure that you demonstrate good etiquette, okay? And that you have both an ethical and a positive outlook. You know, don't be complaining about things. If you have to go to your boss to say something, be positive about it and have a solution. Don't just go and say, you know what, I can't do this because. Go and say, hey, I'm having trouble doing this. I'm wondering if we could try doing this way, okay? And I like to try to come up with acronyms so that you'll remember anything. And the only thing I could come up with for this was TPED. So be excellent, dependable, a team player, communicate well, have good etiquette, ethics, and positivity. And you'll be able to get a raise when you need it, you know? You follow those 7 things. So that's it for today. It only took about a half an hour. Do you guys have any questions? No? All right, be on the lookout for, I'm gonna put this up online today's, but also be on the lookout for, let me just get in here, and I think yeah. Chapter 2, I'm gonna do a video of that, and I'll put that up and you can just watch that. You have, there's no testing this week, but next week you've got 2 test bank crossword puzzles, and I'll be putting those up. Like I said, in fact, I may put those up today so that if you're doing your reading, the first crossword is on chapters 1 and 2, and the second crossword is on chapters 3 and 4. Okay, and it's just to get you started with this stuff. All right. Okay, if you don't have any questions, that's it for today.
All right, thank you, Professor.
Yep, bye-bye.
Professor.